The United States Constitution addresses 5 key terms: federalism, the separation of powers, checks and balances, freedom of conscience, and individual liberties.
The U.S. has a federal system of governance made up of the federal government and the government of the individual states. The Constitution permits the federal government with power over matters of the national concern, while the state governments generally have jurisdiction over issues of domestic concern. While the federal government can pass laws governing the entire country, its powers are cited, or limited. It only has the specific powers allotted to it in the Constitution. For example, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution grants Congress the power to levy taxes, mint money, declare war, establish post offices, and punish piracies on the high seas.
Any action by the federal government must fall within one of the powers cited in the Constitution. For example, the federal government can regulate interstate trade pursuant to the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, but has no power to regulate trade that occurs within a single state. Separation of powers is the division of basic government roles into branches in order to limit the power of federal government. The separation of powers was devised by the framers of the Constitution. Based on their experience, the framers shied away from giving any branch of government too much power. The separation of powers provides a system of shared power known as the checks and balances. 3 branches are created in the Constitution. The legislative, composed of the House and Senate, is set up in Article 1. The executive, composed of the President, Vice President, and the departments, is set up in Article 2. The judicial, composed of the federal courts and the Supreme Court, is set up in Article 3. The system of checks and balances is a fundamental principle of the United States government, whereby powers and responsibilities are divided among the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The officials of each branch are selected by different procedures and serve different terms of office. Each branch may choose to block the action of the other branches through the system. The framers of the Constitution designed this system to ensure that no branch would accumulate too much power and that the issues of public policy and welfare would be given comprehensive consideration before any action was taken. Principle of government under which separate branches are empowered to prevent actions by other branches and are induced to share power. Civil liberties are civil rights and freedoms that provide an individual specific rights. The United States Constitution, especially its Bill of Rights, protects civil liberties. The 14th Amendment protected civil liberties by introducing the Privileges or Immunities Clause, Due Process Clause, and Equal Protection Clause. Human rights within the United States are often called civil rights, which are those rights, privileges, and immunities held by all people in distinction to protect rights, which are the rights to and hear all those who are entitled to participate in elections as candidates or voters. Freedom of conscience is another way of saying freedom of thought. Freedom of thought is the freedom of an individual to hold or consider a fact, viewpoint, or being independent towards others' viewpoints. The U.S. Bill of Rights contains the famous guarantee in the First Amendment that laws may not be made if they interfere with religion or, quote, prohibiting the free exercise thereof.